What were your first impressions of him? Was there a moment, first practice, first game, where you're just like, wow, this kid can really play?
Well, obviously when you first meet him, physically, you know, he's an imposing man,
Yeah,
and he's big, strong, physical kid. I mean, he just doesn't take you long to figure out who N'Keal Harry is when they talked about him when I took the job. So that's one of the first things that really jumps off the charts at you right off the bat. Big smile, you know, very engaging young man. Very well thought of in the valley. He grew up here in the desert, went to high school there, Chandler High School, and of course had a decorated career at Arizona State. So, tremendously respected guy who stayed at home to play, his college football, and the people in Tempe and certainly in the greater Phoenix area appreciate that and respect that in him. So, that was really cool. A guy would, do that because he had options to go anywhere in the country. And, maybe the most heavily recruited high school receiver of his class, I think 3 years ago. So, he gained immediate respect that way. When you look at a big guy, people ask me all the time, what stands out about him? Obviously his physical size is one thing. Certainly for a big kid, he's got great feet. He's really got tremendous feet. And I always look at big receivers if they have the ability to get their feet in the ground and they're light on their feet. When you watch tape of him, he can make you miss. He has a make you miss factor for a big receiver. A lot of guys don't have that at his size. They're more straight line guys. But he does have the ability when the ball is in his hands to make you miss. And I think that's what sets him apart from a lot of the other big receivers, certainly in this group, and certainly something that feels certain that probably caught the eye of every NFL scout, and certainly the Patriots. And then he's got strong hands. He can come down with a contested catch. He can contort his body to make tough, difficult catches. If you want to call that a 50-50 ball with N'Keal, it's probably more like 90-10 for him. With the balls he came down with the guys going against them. So, those are things that stick out. I've done this a long time. This is almost 40 years for me, coaching quarterbacks and receivers, and been around some great ones along the way at both positions. And, it just doesn't take long when you're around a really good player to figure out, what makes him good, highly competitive, wants to do good, likes to work, and wants to be his best. He at practice, if he doesn't do it right or he thinks he can do it better, he'll compete to do it better. And that's a trait of all the really good ones.
Yeah, there's a couple of things I wanted to ask you about actually that you touched on. The first thing was you mentioned the fact that he's slippery in the open field, and
Yes.
and that's the first thing that I noticed about him, other than his size, obviously, when I was watching him. And you've been doing this a long time. I was just curious. I mean, a 6'3" receiver. Have you seen a lot of guys that can make people miss in a phone booth as much as he can?
Well, not at that size. There's guys that have a make you miss factor. Most of them aren't that big.
Yeah.
They're not. I've been around, many good ones that have that factor, but not generally at his size. That's the thing that really jumps out at you because, the saying with a receiver is, can he come alive when the ball hits his hands? And that's the thing you notice about N'Keal. He comes alive. And, if you watch the run against Utah, the run against Texas San Antonio, he's got some others, but those are ones where he made about five guys miss and cut all the way back across the field. And, and then he's got, really good open field speed. He's got what I call competitive speed. Timing him in a 40 is one thing, but watching him run on the football field when the ball's in his hands and he comes alive, he's got a competitive speed, and I think that's a different type of speed. And then you're dealing with a guy that's 228 pounds, and you got to try and tackle that, and that's not easy to do.
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned also his practice habits.
Yeah,
As you know, Coach Belichick is practice pretty important up here. So
yeah,
I was just curious, how is he at practice? Is he a guy that practices like he plays?
yeah. He's a really good worker. I think the biggest thing that you notice about him in practice, he's very competitive, and he likes to do good. And if something isn't right, or he misses a ball, or just misses on a route, he'll go back and get it right. Wants to get it right. So he's got those things in him. I think the thing you also got to remember about Nikhil, he's still young. He's just 3 years out of high school. So the Patriots are getting a really talented receiver, but he's young. And I think maybe just turned 21, or may still be 20. He's not that old. He's somewhere in that range. But 3 years out of Chandler High School, and people have asked me. A guy the other day asked me about kind of a defining moment in the season. Watching him play, and he had a lot of obviously big time plays, and like any really top end receiver would. But there's 2 plays against USC that stick out to me. And we lost a couple in a row. We had a tough loss at Colorado, and we needed a win, and we had to go on the road to get it. And over the years, I think Arizona State on the road at USC, hasn't had a lot of success. And I think USC was on like a 20-some-odd game winning streak at home. And we go in there and jump on them right away, and we're up maybe 24-3. Nikhil has a big touchdown catch early in the game, and we're rolling along. Well, then they kind of coming back. They wake up and roar back and take the lead, and we need a play to stem the tide. And he drifts back and takes a punt and goes 92 yards and kind of catches it over his shoulder. And that play with Nikhil?
No, you caught it over his shoulder.
Yeah, when he caught it over his shoulder, and so he caught a punt inside the 10, and you're saying, well, don't know. And then, he reverses his field and now runs the ball down the sideline for 92 yards. and just, we needed a play, and that's what great players do. They make plays. They sense, a play needs to be made to turn the tide. And then late in that game, we're trying to, protect the lead, preserve a lead, go down and put the game away. And that's when he makes that highlight reel tape that most everybody's seen against USC, when he contorted his body against press coverage on a one-on-one fade ball and caught the ball one-handed. I'm sure you've seen that catch.
Yeah. I mean, that's like the one catch that everybody's kind of seen, in Boston already is that one. And
that's it.
Yeah.
And that, put an exclamation point on the day, and maybe put an exclamation point, on a big, like what he's been able to do in his Arizona State career is make those kind of plays, and then he follows that up, and we just absolutely, really get after Utah and play a great game, and he had a huge game against a really good Utah defense.
Yeah,
had some big plays, and those are things that like I remember about guys like him. I had Torry Holt at NC State, Koren Robinson, and Earl Bennett at Vanderbilt. Look, they make those plays, when they need to be made, and that's who they are. And that's what's kind of defined him. He's a very competitive kid, and he likes the big stage. Doesn't bother him. He made big plays against big teams throughout his career here at Arizona State.
Yeah, that's good news, seeing that the Patriots usually play in a few big games or two a year.
Absolutely.
I wanted to ask you about his, football IQ, and up here I think the biggest question is is he going to be able to get on the same page with Tom Brady, and how it's a complex offense as well. The Patriots run. So how is his kind of football IQ and his ability to like absorb the playbook and all that kind of stuff?
Well, I mean he's a very great kid. He has a nice football IQ. I think all kids have a learning curve as far as preparation, and I think that will be. I think that's one of those big steps from, being a college player to being like a pro's pro, because it's a full-time job. They're not in chemistry and other classes, and so that's always a big adjustment. I think for any college player, there's a few I've had over the years that from an intelligence standpoint, that's not going to be. He's a very bright kid. And having been in the Patriots system, I was the quarterback coach at Penn State with Bill O'Brien. So I know that, we did all that. And and it is a challenge. It's a very complex, and it will be a really good challenge for Nikhil, or as it would be for any young rookie. And just like it was for our guys at Penn State when OB came in there. So, but he has all the learning ability, all the skills to get all that. I think it's just more a matter of getting in the building, getting with their coaches, their OC, and their wideout coach, and the day-by-day install. He has all of the ability to learn. He's got a good natural. He can talk football with you. He understands football. But with any young player, there's a learning curve. It's going to be different. There's going to be more volume, even more volume thrown at him. We were a no-huddle team. He'll now be in a huddle. And so those things they're all adjustments. But the best kids make those adjustments, and they listen to their coaches, which he does. And but he's got the skills and all the ability to learn football, and he's got a good natural football acumen.
Were there any option routes in the?
Yeah, some. Yeah. I mean, what if you watch us play throughout the year, we started moving more inside.
Yeah.
And he ran a good many inside routes. So people, is he inside or outside? Certainly he can play both. He moved all over the place for us. Not a ton of option routes, but certainly, he has an awareness of that. He's been kind of presented those things where we ran some option routes and things like that. But more his plays, tremendous downfield catch guy, certainly digs and shallows and crossing routes, and he's made a lot of big plays on those type of things. Made a lot of big plays on verticals, and certainly on the one-on-one matchups outside, he was able to come down with a lot of big catches.
Yeah, absolutely.
But certainly the playbook's going to be opened up. Those option routes and things like that, what they ask him to do, there'll be, some new things opened up to him also.
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned, that he played him inside and outside. Was he playing the X most of the time, or was he?
Yeah, he's both because he played on the left side, so in a no huddle, depending on the hash that you're on, he could have been an X or a Z. Certainly college football, because of the hashes aren't in the middle of the field, so
right.
That makes it the strength right or left. So he ended up being an X or Z. He was pretty much always on the left or right. Though this past year we made a big adjustment with him and really moved him around. We flipped him from right and left, even in a no huddle scheme. So he was really exposed to moving all over the place. Probably as much. I mean, we did that a ton in my past with Earl Bennett. We did it a lot with Holt. And with any really high-level receiver, you've got to do that, because otherwise you're just asking them to be able to find you easily. And then about halfway through the year, we really made the decision he's moving that much more inside and get some of those matchups. And he made some big plays inside for us.
Yeah. I think moving him around certainly will be what they do with him here. So that'll be good. Is there one thing in his game that you look at and you say, if he gets that down, then, look out, he's going to,
Well, I always think that the biggest thing is with a young receiver is, two things. Is the knowledge of the system. That allows him to play faster. So as he begins to become more comfortable and knowledgeable in the Patriots system, it doesn't matter where you go or where you play. There's a learning curve to any system or anything you do in life. So that's going to be one factor, certainly, as he becomes more comfortable with the Patriots system. It's going to allow him to even play faster and be more sure and confident of himself. And, he's got all the physical tools. He can catch the ball. Certainly there'll be that adjustment to the pro game and playing against, the pro corners and, the route running. I think any young guy, that's a huge factor in their development, is their ability to continue to polish their routes and going against the best of the best.
Yeah.
But all the skills are there. He's got, it's obvious. You just watch the tape, you see his skill set.
Yeah.
And he's a big guy doing it. He's not a small guy. So I'm sure the Patriots will experiment, move him around, and see what how he factors into that system. But But he's a big, strong guy. He catches the ball, and again, I think the thing that sets him apart as a big receiver is when he catches the ball, he can come alive and make you miss. And a lot of big guys are more straight line guys. They can get yards, but they got to go straight ahead to get them. He has the ability to dodge you, make you miss, and then get those extra yards that way. And he's got some good natural open field skills to be able to, cut it back and go against the grain and all those kind of things. So, Patriots certainly got a good one there, and a fine young man that I think would be really good community up there. And if you guys, once you're around and get a chance to spend some time with him, I think you really enjoy him and embrace him.
Yeah, absolutely. Is there one part of his game that you would say is maybe a little bit underrated? I mean, I think everybody knows about the contested catches and the slipperiness.
Yeah, right off the bat, when he gets locked on you, blocking you now, he'll kill you.
Yeah.
When he gets a guy and he gets him under control, because all those little the smaller corners all want to dodge him and kind of out quick him and all that stuff. And when you're in a no huddle offense, there's no break. You're going and going and going and going. So they all try to dodge him and make him miss because he's out there on the field almost all the time. But let me tell you, when he gets locked on him and he gets his paws on him, he gets his hands on him, he can move you now. He's got some competitive strength, natural playing strength, as I like to say. I mean, you look at his body now, he's a strong kid. And so when he gets locked on you, he can move you around. And I know that's not a thing a lot of guys talk about blocking, but he has the ability to do that. When you say underrated, from a skill set, I just think, a lot of people don't realize how gifted with the ball in his hands he is. The ability just to make you miss as a big kid.
Yeah.
And people say, well, who's he remind you of? Who's he like? And the guy that he reminds me of, though he's faster, is Anquan Bolden. That's who he reminds me of. He's got that kind of body, that kind of strength, that kind of power. Anquan could play inside, he could play outside. Had a good natural feel for the game. And I know there's other guys, that Coach Edwards kind of, felt like he reminded him of Des Bryant. That's a fair comparison. To me, just his game and the way he plays, and I think right off the bat when people asked me that a few months ago, that Anquan Bolden, that's who he reminds me of.
Yeah.
A guy that has a body that's built for, to go the distance. He can take the punishment. He can play inside. He can play outside for you. He's got strong hands. And Anquan Bolden, his 40 time wasn't as fast as Nikhil's. I don't believe at the combine, but Anquan had that competitive speed, and then he had a natural ability to make you miss, make plays, and that's what the great ones have, and Nikhil has that.
Yeah, I'm glad you pointed out his blocking, because the Patriots, if you don't block at receiver here, you don't really play.
Yeah. That's the standard you want.
Yeah.
And you want guys to be able to play and make plays, and sometimes it's they all may miss a block or not, be dialed in on everyone, but he's a guy that when he gets his hands on you and he's locked on you now, he can move you, he can push you around, he can create some running lanes outside and make it hard for you. Again, you block people with your feet and your hands, and he's got good feet, so he has the ability to stay with you a little bit.
Thanks very much, Coach. I really appreciate it.
Oh yeah, Evan. Yeah, we're certainly proud of him here, and we all feel like, hey, what a great landing spot for him. Great organization, winning culture, and an opportunity to be coached by the best.
Yeah, we're happy to have him here. It's pretty exciting. Like I said, they don't usually pick receivers this high, so when we get a chance to get our hands on a stud like Nikhil, it's pretty exciting.
Looking forward to seeing his development there, and he's still got young guy. He's got to just continue to get better.
Thanks, Coach.
All right,
have a good one.
Evan. All right, bye.